If you're running a business, then you're managing its finances. Chances are, QuickBooks is one of your go-to tools. But let's face it, managing invoices, tracking expenses, and keeping tabs on payments eats into you and your team's time. That's where automations come in. We're able to connect QuickBooks with our other tools to save some serious time, reduce manual errors, and build smarter workflows that work for you. Hi there, I'm Alex Knowles from automationhelpers.com, and we help companies like yours get automated with portals, apps, and integrations. In this video, I want to show you how you can connect QuickBooks to your other tools so you can automate creating customers, invoices, expense tracking, and more. So we're going to look at how you can use automations with QuickBooks by diving into some basic examples together. We'll then look at how you can correctly format your data. And then we'll finish off by layering some extra tools and steps into our automated workflows to create some more complex functionality. Let's start off with a super basic example. We'll look at creating a customer in our QuickBooks account when our client onboarding form is completed. They'll provide details, and we want to automatically create a customer in QuickBooks. So we're going to be using Zapier for our automated workflows today. Now, building these workflows can be done with any number of automation tools. However, you need to understand that the technical knowledge needed depends on the platform you choose. Zapier is a great introduction to automated workflows. So let's run with this. Now, within Zapier, an automated workflow is referred to as a zap. So let's create one. We're going to select this create button in the top left and zap. Straight away, we'll notice that we've got a trigger event and then an action. Each and every automated workflow begins with a trigger event. Ours is going to be when the client onboarding form is submitted. So we're going to search for fill out because that's the platform we built the form on. We'll select it. And then we'll need to select the trigger event, which is obviously a new submission of our form. You'll want to then connect your account. So do that, verify, authorize the connection, and follow me. We'll hit continue and then jump into configuring this. So firstly, we'll just need to select the form that we want to pull the data from, which is the client onboarding form. Then we'll have to test the trigger and actually pull some data in from our form. So we'll test that and we can see that we've got submission A pulled through. Let's take a look at it. So here we've got a submission, Billy Bob, some further details. Okay, cool, we're ready to go. Now we want to merge this data over with our QuickBooks. So we'll select continue with this selected record and on to step 2, which is our action. QuickBooks, and we know that we want to create a customer. Now, I will note that you will have to be on the Pro plan for Zapier in order to access these actions. Okay, so we're going to select Create Customer, Add New Customer, and you'll want to connect your QuickBooks account. Just select Sign In, and then authorize the connection. Once connected, let's continue. Now we'll be sharing the data from our form submission to our new customer. So we'll start with the full name here. We're going to pull in the first name field and the last name field from our form submission. So we can just search for a field rather than scroll through. First name, Billy. I'll just include a space manually, and then last name, Bob. The display name, this is going to be the same. Let's just manually put it in. So again, we're just going to pull through the first name and the last name. Then the title, we'll just leave this blank. Now, I'm not going to fill the entirety of these, but you will want to go through and ensure that you include as much details as possible. Okay, hopefully you've included all of the data that you want to share with the new customer in QuickBooks. So we're going to select continue, and then we want to run a test on this action or step. So select test step, then we'll look up here and we should see whether it's been a success or a fail. Here we go, a customer was sent to QuickBooks Online about 0 seconds ago. So that was a success. Let's jump into QuickBooks. Then from the left, we're going to select customers, and we should see Billy Bob has just appeared here with the company name, the phone. And if we jump in, and then we have the option to create invoices, sales receipts, estimates, and more. Okay, we've taken a look at a quick and easy example. If we jump back into the Zap, we're ready to turn this on. All we need to do is select publish. And now anytime somebody completes the customer or client onboarding form, automatically a new customer will be created in QuickBooks. Make sure to watch the end of this video because we're going to look at how we can layer on other tools just in case the customer already exists within QuickBooks. If we were to test this step again, we're going to run into a fail because Billy Bob already exists within our QuickBooks account. As we can see here, failed to create a customer in QuickBooks Online. That return duplicate name exists. So later in this video, we're going to look at how we can create paths and branch out our automated workflow to fix issues like this. Which brings us to the second example. Rather than manually creating your invoices, we can rely on an automation tool like Zapier to generate it for us. So what we're going to do this time is lean on Zapier's Copilot. It's an AI functionality that builds templatized automated workflows for you so you can set these up a lot quicker. So let's go with the same trigger event, which will be when a fill out form is submitted, then create an invoice. So we'll wait for it to work its magic, as we can see over here. And all we'll need to do is pull in the templatized automated workflow and then plug in our accounts and of course configure the data. Here we've got Zapier interfaces, form submission created, and create invoice. So it's actually not done it correctly. And that's rare and unusual, but not to worry. Sometimes these things happen with AI. So what we're going to do is again, build from scratch. Now we've already done the trigger event in our previous basic example. We know it's fill out forms. We know it's when our client form is submitted. So we'll continue and we'll select that client onboarding form. This is just for a mere example. Where do we go? Here we go. Again, we'll just quickly run that test trigger. So we are using the example data that we had before, Billy Bob. Now you would most likely want to have your trigger event, possibly action occurs within your work management system. Maybe a new project is ready to begin or launch in Airtable or SmartSuite, but you want to receive payment first. When the status changes in Airtable or SmartSuite, you could trigger this automated workflow to occur. But we're just going to use the same example just to keep it simple. And we can see we've got the submission has pulled through. It'll be that Billy Bob Acme. Let's look at creating an invoice. So we know that we're going to search for QuickBooks again, or we'll just select it down here. And the action event this time, instead of create customer, it is create invoice. So we'll select that. Of course, you'll want to include your account. Now, please be wary. Because QuickBooks is such a meaty platform and these automated workflows rely on using quite a bit of data that is formatted correctly, there will be times when you need to update your QuickBooks direct integration. You'll notice it here when you're jumping into Zapier, or if you're using another platform like Make or Pipedream, you may not receive a notification and you'll have to keep your eye on the automated workflow to look for any errors. If there are, jump in and make updates. Now, QuickBooks regularly make updates to the API. So I do expect within a 1 month to 2 month period that you are going to have to actually update this direct integration just in case you're finding errors. So let's continue after that spill. Now, firstly, we'll need to select the customer. So how are we going to pull that through? Well, we can add a search step here. Firstly, we can just pull in our customers here. Now, we might be running into an issue, right? Because if we have a new client complete this form and we want to generate an invoice, if we were to statically select Billy Bob, every single invoice is going to be sent to Billy Bob, and vice versa for if we select Sally C's. Now, what we could do is include a search step which adds an actual step before the generation of the invoice. This allows us to find the customer. And this is a point that I was chatting about earlier in regards to the fact of how do we create a customer if it already exists within our QuickBooks account. So we're going to find the customer. We'll use the search value. Here we've got names. So we're going to use the search value of the first name and last name. And here we've got what occurs if there is no customer found. If it searches and can't find any values, mark safely halted and skip the rest of the steps. No, we want this automated workflow to continue. Even if they don't find a customer, we still want it to continue, which will then create another step to add a customer if nothing is found. We want it to continue, mark successful, and run steps that use search result. Continue. Okay, so we've got the data in. We'll test this step. Search value Billy Bob and data out. And we have a success here. So if we look down, we can see that we've found Billy Bob, Acme Co. We know that that person exists. So then we'd be able to create an invoice. But what happens if no customer is found? Well, then we need to create a customer. But we can't have all of those steps in line This is where we use paths. So we'll quickly add a step here. And this is going to be Zapier paths, the function that allows us to create two workflows within the one. So we'll add a path and we'll notice that we've got path A and path B. Path A creates the invoice and path B will create a customer. Now I'll just quickly configure this because we just looked at how we can do it in the past step. Then we'll continue together. Okay, so we've got the two separate paths. We've got the initial step here, which finds a customer with QuickBooks using the data from our fill out forms. Then our automated workflow splits. Now we'll need to include the path conditions. When and why does it take path A? We're going to select the field, which will be in find customer, and we're just going to use display name. So we're going to use the condition. Now you'll see that you have a lot of options here: contains, exactly matches. You can also set conditions for paths using numerical values, is greater than, less than, but we're just going to do exists. So if the display name exists, then we want to go through path A. If it exists, that means it found a customer. So straight away we create an invoice. If it does not exist, then we take path B, which we will create a customer and then create an invoice. Let me just select continue. What we could actually do is we'll set this up first. Let me delete that. And then we'll just simply copy and paste and plug in the correct values from here. So we're going to jump into the create invoice and then we need to set up our steps. Here we can see that it's already pulling in the ID from the first step there. You'll see that we've got this 2 next to the ID because this is step 2. So it's bringing in the customer and then we'll want to configure this further. We'll pull in the email from the customer as well. Quickly just searching it. So go ahead, run through these fields, and then we'll look at the next step once we've completed that. Once you've included all of the details, it's time to test your step. So select continue and then you'll want to test. And again, we'll be able to see if it was a success or a failure. Now here we can see that it's a failure. I wanted to show you a fail so I could quickly touch on some points. Here we've got the required field name is missing and the required field recurrence type is missing, as well as interval type. Now, if we jump back into the configuration, we'll notice that we've only got an asterisk next to the customer field. So if we scroll down, now if any time you're scrolling and unable to find something, you can use Command F or Control F and it will pop up. But as we're searching, nothing is actually showing. So we've got ID, email, send later, billing address, terms, invoice date, ship via, tracking number, auto generator. Now I know what's occurring here. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down and here we've got make recurring. So if we select true, we'll notice that some fields become visible. We've got name with an asterisk next to it, recurrence type with an asterisk next to it, interval and start date. Now this is for a recurring invoice. You might not be making a recurring invoice. So we've noticed a bug within Zapier. All you need to do is scroll down to make recurring, toggle it on so that it's true, then toggle it back to false because it's not going to be recurring. And then from here, if we select continue and test step, we should see, of course, because I haven't included a line item. So I'll just quickly jump back to configure and we'll see the line item. So we need to set our line items. We've got the service date here. So I'm just going to pull in the submission time, the submission from our form, which included the target project start date. So we'll just use that. And then that will pull that in. The product or service, we'll be able to select our products and services directly from QuickBooks. You won't be able to manually include something and then create a product or service. Instead, you'll want to add another automated workflow to generate a product or service. We're just going to use our basic consulting services. And then you've got quantity, rate. Let's just chuck in a rate for the sake of this example. And we should be sweet to go. Third time lucky. We'll test this step and we can see it was a success. A new invoice was sent to QuickBooks Online about 0 seconds ago. So if we jump over to QuickBooks, we're in customers, sales, invoices, and we should see a newly generated Billy Bob due in 30 days. I'm currently located in Thailand, so my account is set to Thai baht. Perhaps you are sending an invoice that is cross-international. You can also set up the currency if we jump to configure. if you don't want it to be the standard and default currency set to your account. And we will see the ability, deposit currency. There you have the ability to choose your currency. Okay, so from here, we'll just select continue, and we still need to put it within our second path. So all we're going to do is we're just going to duplicate that. Then we're going to pull it over here. So if path B is taken, then we need to create a customer because no customer was found here. Then we want to use this customer in step 7 to create the invoice. So if we open this and we go configure, we'll notice that step 2 has been connected because we just did it. As you can see here, find customer. So all we need to do is just plug in the correct steps, create customer. Oh, we never completed this step, did we? We are here on create customer and we just want to run a test, but we've got Billy Bob, so that's not going to work. But for the sake of quickly getting through this video and showing you other examples, all you would need to do would be to pull in those same details just from the 7th step, which is creating a customer only if no customer is found there. Then once you've completed setting up this automated workflow, all you need to do is hit publish. What about if you want to do things within QuickBooks that aren't actually generating customers, employees, or invoices, and rather tracking your expenses? Well, we can use Zapier again to connect a platform like Stripe or Shopify and track our expenses directly within QuickBooks. So here again, we have a Zap, and this time let's hope that we can use Copilot so that when a purchase is completed in Stripe, update expenses in QuickBooks. Let's see how it goes with that prompt. Again, it's working some magic, and we can see it's coming through with an outline for our Zap. Here we go. Checkout session completed, create expense in QuickBook. Yes, it did it this time. So we'll select add all steps to Zap, and then automatically that's going to put it into our automated workflow, and we just need to connect our accounts. So I'm going to quickly sign into Stripe. You will need to authorize this connection. Once we've done that, we verified the connection, we'll continue this workflow. Okay, we better touch on this. Now, Stripe is one tool within Zapier that you can't simply click and connect. That doesn't mean it's hard to connect the account. We just need to include some other steps. So here it's asking us for our Stripe API key. Pretty simple to grab. However, make sure you don't share your API key with anyone. I'm going to blur mine out, but all you need to do is jump into your Stripe account. So in our Stripe dashboard, we're going to select the gear icon and then select settings. We're going to select developers. You want to enable it, and then it will pop up by default. But if you've already got it enabled, just select developers down the bottom and then workbench overview. Then we'll want to select API reference. Then if we scroll down, we'll see that we've got here your API key, which is currently in test mode. I'm using test data, so we want to use test mode. And here's where you'll actually find the authentication for your API key. So we're going to select that. It's copied to our clipboard. Then we just jump back here, paste that bad boy, and yes, continue to Stripe, which will authorize and let Zapier know, hey, this person has access and permission to view the data from Stripe. So from there, we're just going to select connect, and everything should run smoothly. It may take a couple of seconds, but if we jump back into our Zap, we'll see that our account has been successfully connected. Let's set this up. So we'll select continue, and we want to use some test mode data. Yep, both true, continue. This is going to pull through some example data. Now, if you do want to run this in test mode, jump into your Stripe dashboard and ensure that you have test mode enabled. Once you've run a test from your Stripe checkout, then you'll want to dynamically pull in the data from Stripe into these sections. Now, you will notice that a lot of the time there are static, predetermined field values for each of these. The payee type, we've got vendor, customer, employee, payment type, cash, check, credit card. Now, ensure when you either input the static data just by typing, or you use the data from your Stripe checkout session, that you are adhering to the exact formatting that you see here in cash, checkout, and credit card. If you were to pull through cash with a lowercase, QuickBooks won't notice it, and the integration or automation will fail. Now, we've taken a quick look at some basic examples. You'd want to run through this, test it, check if you have created expense within QuickBook, but we're running out of time, so let's look at how you can format your data using Zapier. So let's look at how we can format the data we're pulling in from our trigger event so that we're correctly giving it to QuickBooks. So what we'll do is we'll add a step before our action. I'll just quickly, just so that we know that QuickBooks is the next step. So we'll search for formatter. And this is a native formatter to Zapier. From here, we'll select the action event. Again, that is what is the value that we're playing with. We've got the text value, but let's look at using the date and time this time. We'll continue, and then we're going to select the transform. So we want to either add or subtract or compare dates or format. We're going to select add and subtract time. Now, what I'll quickly also do is I'll jump back in here. I'll select the invoice action, send an invoice. Let's go create invoice. Now, that's something I should point. You can actually have invoices sent, ones that were pre-created. So for example, you want to find an invoice, you can add a QuickBooks step to find invoice and then have something that triggers it to be sent. But let's look at this. We're going action event, which is going to be send. Oops, we're deleting this, my mistake. So let's delete this again quickly and then jump into the one down here. Now, if I quickly search, we've got the invoice date, but we've also got the due date. So because we've only got the one date value in here, we want to do some formatting. Set date and time, continue. Then we're going to select how we actually want to format it. We can add or subtract time from the value, compare dates, and format it. Now we just want to add time because if we jump into the create invoice step and we scroll down, we notice we have an invoice date, but we also have a due date. Now, usually we want this to be paid within 7 days or 14 days after it's sent out. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly rename this so we know what it is, and it will be due date. And we're going to grab add subtract time. We're going to use the input of the project start date or the target project start date, the expression we're selecting. Now we can pull in a value, but we just want to add 7 and the format. This is just going to be how it's put out. The expression, we will need to actually say 7 days. Sorry. Otherwise I wouldn't know hours, weeks. And then we're going to select how it is formatted. We'll just select this for the sake of this example. We don't need to select the from format. I believe we should be able to lean on Zapier to know what to put out. And there we go, the output, December the 11th. Let's quickly check. And we've got here December the 4th. So it's added 7 days. Now we could just simply ask it to configure, add 1 week. And if we test that, the same result will come out because Zapier likes to make our lives easier. So we'll retest that step using 1 week and the same value has popped out. We could use seconds, minutes, hours, years. We've looked at formatting. Zapier can be a more expensive tool due to the way that it handles tasks as individual steps and charges you for that. Instead, we could look at using a platform like Pipedream. Here, I've built a completely customized and automated customer onboarding system. When a record updates in Smart Suite, we create a customer that creates an invoice, sends an email, updates our team, and then again updates our Smart Suite. Now, with Pipedream and other automation tools, rather than charging our team step by step, it takes the entire run and then charges us for that. If you do want to be using a platform like Zapier because it's easier to set up and understand, try and condense your workflow as much as you can. Try and include multiple steps in one singular step, because if your workflows include multi-steps, these can quickly add up. And there we have it. We've looked at Zapier and ways that you can use it to automate steps and tasks within QuickBooks to save you and your team time. But the possibilities are endless. We can use other automation tools to really set up some customized and time and money saving workflows, or we can quickly dive into Zapier to automate some of those tedious and manual tasks. If you need help automating parts of your business, then don't hesitate to reach out to us at automationhelpers.com. Our team of experts are offering a free 30-minute consultation, so book yours today.